everybody, the master class is in session as we're going to go to part 3 of a 4-part series. And the first part I've discussed already was the NCAA settlement with the student athletes and the Power 4 athletes in a $2.8 billion settlement. I broke it down for you. You can see my past segment on that. In part 2, I jumped to player management. And the most important thing in player management was rule number 1. And that is, read and understand your financial arrangements and contract arrangements with your university and third parties. And I said, why? Well, I told you why. It's because you want to be sure that you're going to be in that number. And that's that roster number. In football, it's 105. In basketball, it's 15 players. Well, there's things that you have to know, and I call that the rules of engagement, that you have to be concerned about just to be eligible or just to be able to be in that number. And that's what part 2 was all about. Part 3, well, we're going to get into it today, and that's going to be realize the impact that taxes and living expenses will have on your compensation. And I did say compensation, I did not say salary. And the reason for that is nobody should be talking about salary because you are not employees. You're going to be independent contractors. You're getting a profit sharing compensation. That's what this is. Miscellaneous income built off of name and likeness, broadcasting rights, and all the good stuff and sponsorships. You're going to be sharing in that. But you have to realize that you are, as a business person, you must differentiate between being a payroll or being an employee or being an independent contractor. So in your case, you are an independent contractor. There will be no withholdings from the monies that you're going to get from this profit sharing arrangement. You're going to have to show some self-leadership and move forward with your business plans on how you're going to handle the money when it hits the table after July 1st of 2025. But these are the rules. So let's get it straight, because I've heard it on social media and other places. They're calling it salary income, like you guys or you young men and young women is going to be getting a salary. Well, it's not. You have to be very intentional about this money that you're receiving. So let's just take a look at it. It was projected that some of the players would get $135,000 for men's basketball, players in men's basketball, or players that are on the football team. I don't know how the GMs are going to divide up the money under the cap to see who's making what. But let's just give you a quick example. If any of you are going to be making $135,000, the first thing you have to realize is that you have a partner. And your partner is Uncle Sam, the federal government, and the state governments. And it may include some local taxes. Who knows? It depends upon where you live. What I'm using my example on is West Virginia University. I'm using that example as a West Virginia University athlete. So if you were to make $135,000, immediately you got to realize that your partner is going to be taking right off the top $40,000. So you say, well, how do you get to $40,000? Just know that you're going to be paying federal taxes, state taxes, and self-employment taxes. That's what you're going to be paying, and that's going to be your tax bill. $40,000 is not going to be due until April 15th of 2026. So a lot can happen with your money between the time you get paid and the time you have to turn in that money to the federal government and to the state government. So be very aware of the timetable and your compliance obligations. And compliance is nothing but filing those returns. But that's what it's all about in taxes. And for women, It was projected that they would be making, what, $35,000. I don't think that's enough, but that tax bill will be about $7,500 plus. So you're going to have income left after you pay your taxes. You're either going to spend it, save it, invest it. I will get to that in my next take, which will be part 4, about hiring the proper people and people that are just showing up for a payday off of you. So you got to be smart. So you got to know from the get-go is that those taxes have got to be paid, and that's going to be your tax liability. That's the way it's always been. But the key thing is to know you're not an employee. Now, whether the universities will set up little compliance units to help y'all find a way to file your taxes on time and things like that, that's yet to be seen. But just remember, the settlement, the big NCAA settlement, did not come with instructions on how to handle your money or how to handle your big payday. Are you going to get paid in a lump sum, or are you going to get paid over the season? I would figure that you're going to get paid after you are officially on the roster, because I don't think anybody would be paying you money if they didn't think that you were going to be on the roster before your first game. But that's the big thing with knowing who your partner is. And it's very important about these taxes. People have been misled in the past, especially athletes, with athletes thinking that people that they hire have filed their taxes when they didn't. So you've got to pay attention. And then also, one big difference between being an employee and an independent contractor is, more likely than not, as an independent contractor, in the future, you're going to have estimated tax payments. So you're going to have to keep money on hand for that. So what I'm simply telling you is, know what your tax bill is and set that money aside immediately. Don't play Russian roulette with that. That's not what you want to play around with. You don't want to play around with the Internal Revenue Service or the state governments. Set the money aside. That's what they have checking accounts for. You set it aside because that money is not your money, no matter what advisors or anybody else is telling you. I'm telling you up front, you have a tax bill. And you have to be responsible through self-leadership to play your game. And like I said, rule number 2, realizing the impact that these taxes are going to have on your income. If you make $135,000, your disposable income, or the income that's going to be left, is $94,000 plus. If you're a women's basketball player, your income after taxes is probably going to be around $27,000 plus. Those are just numbers to give you a feel for what you should be thinking between now and the time that the season starts. You can set up your own accounts right now, bank accounts, because you do want to set things aside. Be prepared for war in the time of peace. And right now, you have all the ability, starting July 1st, to be preparing for what's going to be coming. Get with your advisors in the basketball facility, football facility, the GMs. All of those salaries and things like that have to be decided. But I'm just giving you a few markers to look at, a few salaries as to how I came right off the top to say this is what your tax bill is going to be. Because you should not be going out spending all of that money and not making things happen. And yeah, I'm popping today and cooking. It's all in one. But this is an area that's dear to my heart because I used to work for Deloitte. And so I used to prepare returns and make sure that athletes had their tax returns filed. That was just one part of my duties as a financial advisor at that time. So I'm telling you up front, take care of your business. You're going to be a businessman on day 1, on July 1st, 2025. So act like it. This is what this whole thing is about. So what you have learned, quickly to recap this thing, is that you're going to have a tax liability. You're going to have federal taxes, self-employment taxes. You're going to have state taxes. Estimated tax payments are going to be in your future. Now, I don't know who the people are, or the advisors, or the people that are on your football staff, basketball staff, baseball staff, what they're going to be advising you and telling you. But there's one thing I know for sure. A lot of guys advise, but you've got to have experience in handling athletes. And now you guys are like semi-pro athletes. Every penny must be accounted for. So if you want to know how much is left, take out those taxes first. So that's where I'm going to leave it today with regard to the second R. Realize the impact that taxes and living expenses have on your compensation income or your profit sharing income. And as far as living expenses, y'all have hit a gold mine, because your room and board and things that normal people have out here in society, paying rent, mortgages, you guys don't have. That should be paid for. You don't even have to pay for your tuition. So you're ahead of the game of athletes that played in the past. And now you got to plan for that future after college, because everybody's not going to the NBA, everybody's not going to the NFL, everybody's not going to the W. That's just the way it is. So what's in your future as of now is banking your money. And then we can get to the investing and all that part. But right now, step number one is you have a partner from day one, and you have to take care of that business first before everybody comes around, some humming and bumming for money. So you need to get this in your head that you're a businessman and quit trying to delegate everything. Start learning. I've given you the first rule, knowing the rules of engagement to make the roster. Now, when the money hits the table and everybody's saying, woo, we hit the lottery, it's more money than we ever got, just understand there comes accountability and responsibility with all that hoopla that's happening. And that's where I'll leave it. Simply the best information that you never heard of. This is C. Ivan Franklin at Befrank4real. One minority voice, one view. Yes, it's all about the Benjamin, folks. But you still have to be in the number, whatever that roster number is. And you got to start taking care of your business. There you go. See ya.